The stars in this part of space had always been quiet. For thousands of years, ships from a dozen different species traveled through the Velrun corridor without trouble. It was the fastest route between the inner colonies and the outer trading posts. Millions of tons of cargo passed through every cycle. Then the ships started disappearing. Captain Daniel Cole stood on the bridge of the USS Relentless and watched the star map on the main screen. Red dots marked the locations where ships had vanished. 17 dots now. 17 ships gone without a single distress call. "The Galactic Commerce Council is getting desperate," said Commander Lisa Grant. She stood beside him, her arms crossed over her chest. "They've sent their own scouts. None came back. And now they're asking humans to help," Cole said. "We're the only ones who said yes." Cole understood why the other species refused. The Velrun corridor had become a place of fear. Rumors spread quickly among the alien trading guilds. Some said the corridor was cursed. Others claimed ancient weapons had awakened from the dead systems along the route. Most species simply chose to go around, adding weeks to their journeys rather than risk the faster path. Humans did not go around. The Relentless was a heavy cruiser, 30 years old, but still solid. Her hull carried the scars of 6 major engagements and dozens of smaller fights. She was not the newest ship in the fleet, and she was not the strongest. But her crew had served together for 4 years, and that counted for more than fresh paint and upgraded weapons. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw sat at the sensor station, his fingers moving across the console. He was young, barely 26, but he had sharp eyes and quick instincts. "Captain, we're approaching the first debris field." Picking up metallic fragments spread across a 2,000-kilometer area. "On screen," Cole ordered. The view shifted to show the wreckage floating in the darkness. Pieces of hull plating drifted past, spinning slowly in the void. Cole recognized the design immediately. Torvan. The Torvan were traders, peaceful beings who had never fought a war in their entire history. Their ships carried grain and medicine and machine parts. They carried no weapons. "The cuts are clean," Grant observed quietly. "Too clean." This wasn't an explosion or a collision. Something took this ship apart piece by piece. Cole felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He had seen battle damage before. He had seen what missiles and railguns did to ships. This was different. This was surgical. "Any life signs?" he asked. "Negative," Shaw replied. "No escape pods detected. No emergency beacons." Behind Cole, Ensign Chris Palmer adjusted their course slightly, keeping the Relentless clear of the larger debris chunks. Palmer was fresh out of the academy, only 22 years old. This was his first deep space assignment. He tried to keep his face calm, but Cole could see the fear in his eyes. "Steady, Ensign," Cole said gently. "Just fly the ship." "Yes, sir." Chief Engineer Maria Torres called up from the engine room. Her voice came through the bridge speakers with a slight crackle. "Captain, I'm reading some strange energy signatures in the debris. Residual traces of something I don't recognize. It's not matching anything in our database." "Can you identify it?" "Not yet. But whatever did this was using technology we haven't seen before." Cole turned back to the star map. The Velrun corridor stretched ahead of them, passing through 3 more star systems before reaching safe space on the other side. 2 of those systems were dead. Their stars collapsed or burned out millions of years ago. Perfect places to hide. "Commander," he said to Grant, "what do we know about the dead systems ahead?" Grant pulled up the data on her tablet. Keth 7 is the closest. The star collapsed about 10 million years ago. There used to be a civilization there, but they died with their sun. Nothing but ruins and asteroid fields now. No one has surveyed it in centuries. "Perfect hunting ground," Cole muttered. "Sir?" Shaw said suddenly, his voice sharp with surprise. "I'm picking up a signal." Faint, but definitely artificial. It's a distress beacon. From where? The HFY system. Someone is still alive in there. The bridge went silent. Cole looked at the screen, at the distant darkness where a dead star sat surrounded by the bones of ancient worlds. Somewhere in that darkness, someone was calling for help. And somewhere in that same darkness, something was hunting. He thought about the 17 ships that had vanished. He thought about the Torvan freighter, cut apart with terrible precision. He thought about his crew, 47 men and women, who trusted him to make the right choices. Then he thought about the beings sending that distress signal. Alone in the dark, waiting, hoping someone would come. Set course for the HFY system, Cole ordered. Palmer's hands hesitated over the controls for just a moment. Then he nodded and entered the coordinates. Course laid in, Captain. Sir, Grant said quietly, stepping closer so only he could hear. 17 ships went into that corridor. We could be the 18th. We could, Cole agreed. But we're not going to be. How can you be sure? Cole smiled, but there was no humor in it. Because we're not running. We're hunting. The USS Relentless turned toward the dead system and accelerated into the darkness. Behind them, the debris of the Torvan freighter continued its slow, silent drift through empty space. Ahead of them, something ancient waited. On a dozen worlds across the sector, alien commanders watched their sensors as the human ship moved deeper into the Forbidden's corridor. They shook their heads and whispered prayers for the human crew. They were certain they would never see that ship again. They were wrong. The HFY system was a graveyard. Not just of ships, but of worlds. Captain Cole stood at the bridge viewport and stared at what remained of a solar system that had once held life. The star at the center had collapsed into a dim red ember that gave barely enough light to see by. Around it, the shattered remains of planets drifted in endless orbits. Continents of rock floated where worlds had once spun. Oceans had boiled away millions of years ago. Cities had crumbled to dust long before humans had learned to make fire. My God, whispered Ensign Palmer. What happened here? War, Lieutenant Shaw answered quietly. The records say there was a civilization here once. The Keth. They fought someone or something. Both sides lost. Commander Grant studied her tactical display. The distress beacon is coming from the third debris ring, about 40,000 kilometers ahead. Take us in slowly, Cole ordered. Keep all sensors active. The Relentless moved through the ruins like a ghost. Chunks of planetary crust drifted past, some of them the size of small moons. Torres had increased power to the shields. But Cole knew that if they hit something large enough, shields would not save them. After 20 minutes of careful navigation, they found the source of the distress signal. It was a Marathi diplomatic vessel. The Marathi were a peaceful species, known across the galaxy for their skill in negotiation and trade. Their ships were elegant and unarmed. This one floated dead in space, its engines dark, its lights flickering weakly. Life signs? Cole asked. Shaw checked his readings twice before answering. Positive. I'm reading 12 Marathi inside. They're alive, but their life support is failing. We need to get them out of there, Grant said. I'll lead a boarding party. Cole nodded. Take a security team. Be careful. 20 minutes later, Grant and her team were aboard the Marathi vessel. The interior was cold and dark. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The team moved through the corridors with their weapons ready, not knowing what they might find. They found the Marathi crew huddled in a sealed cargo compartment near the center of the ship. 12 beings, their silver skin pale with cold and fear. When the compartment door opened and they saw human faces, several of them began to weep. Thank the stars, said the Marathi captain. Her name was Vorath, and she had served as a diplomat for 30 years. We thought no one would come, We thought we would die here." "You're safe now," Grant told her. "Can you tell us what happened?" Voreth's eyes went wide with remembered terror. "They came from the rocks, from the debris. We did not see them until they were already cutting into our hull. Machines, ancient machines. They wanted to harvest us." "Harvest?" "They take ships apart for materials, metal, electronics, and they take the crews for—" Voreth could not finish the sentence. She just shook her head. Grant felt ice in her blood. "How many of these machines are there?" "We saw dozens. Perhaps hundreds. They hide in the debris fields. Their technology makes them invisible to sensors. We only saw them when they attacked." Grant contacted the Relentless immediately. "Captain, we have a serious problem." She explained what the Mirathi had told her. When she finished, there was a long silence from Cole's end. "Get those people aboard our ship," Cole finally said. "We're leaving this system," but it was already too late. "Captain." Shaw's voice cut through the channel, sharp with alarm. "I'm getting contacts." Multiple contacts emerging from the debris field. "They're all around us." Cole turned to the main screen and felt his heart stop. Shapes were rising from the asteroid fields on every side. Dark, angular machines covered in ancient metal and strange growths that looked almost organic. They moved with horrible purpose, their hulls reflecting the dim red light of the dead star. Tars's voice came from engineering. "Sir, I'm reading their energy signatures now. They match the residue from the Torvan wreckage. These are our killers." The machines numbered in the dozens. Then the dozens became scores. They kept emerging from the debris like insects crawling from a nest. Their formations were perfect, their movements coordinated with mechanical precision. "Commander, get back to the ship now," Cole ordered. "We're moving, but we have wounded Mirathi. We need 10 minutes. You have 5. Move faster." On the screen, the machines began to close in. They made no attempt to communicate. They simply advanced, tightening the circle around the two ships like a noose. Then a sound came over the communications channel. It was a voice, but not a living voice. It was flat and cold and synthetic, speaking in a language that the translation systems struggled to process. "Surrender organic components. Resistance extends suffering." The message repeated, over and over. The same words, the same dead tone. Palmer looked at Cole with fear in his young eyes. "Sir, what do we do?" Cole straightened his shoulders and stared at the approaching machines. He thought about the Torvan freighter, taken apart piece by piece. He thought about the Mirathi crew, hiding in the dark, waiting for death. He thought about what these machines had done for thousands of years while the galaxy forgot they existed. "We fight," he said simply. "All hands to battle stations. Charge all weapons. We're not surrendering anything to anyone." The USS Relentless turned to face her enemies, and the guns began to warm. The first harvester died in a flash of fire. The Relentless opened up with her main guns, and railgun rounds tore through the ancient machine like needles through cloth. The harvester broke apart, spilling components into the void. It had not even tried to dodge. Direct hit. Shaw called out, "Target destroyed." But there was no time to celebrate. A dozen more harvesters surged forward to take its place. Their weapons, strange beam cutters designed to slice ships into manageable pieces, began to glow with ugly red light. "Evasive maneuvers," Cole ordered. Palmer threw the Relentless into a hard turn, just as the first cutting beams lanced through the space where they had been. The ship groaned under the stress, but Palmer kept her moving, dancing through the debris field with skill that surprised even Cole. "They're adapting," Grant reported from her station. She had made it back aboard with the Mirathi survivors just minutes before the fighting began. They didn't expect our weapons to be effective. Now they're being more careful. Cole watched the tactical display. The harvesters were spreading out, trying to surround them again. They were old machines, designed to fight civilizations that had turned to dust 10,000 years ago. Human weapons were newer, faster, more powerful. But the harvesters had numbers, and they learned quickly. "Torres, I need options," Cole called down to engineering. "Working on it, Captain," Torres replied. Her voice was calm despite the chaos. "I've been studying their sensor masking. It's based on an old frequency pattern. If I can reconfigure our sensors, we should be able to track them, even when they're trying to hide." "Do it." Another harvester closed in from the port side. The Relentless hit it with a missile barrage, and the machine tumbled away, burning. But more kept coming. "Sir, I'm detecting a concentrated signal source," Shaw said. "All the harvesters are receiving coordination data from the same location. It's coming from inside that shattered moon, bearing 045. Cole looked at the screen. The moon Shaw indicated was a broken sphere, cracked open by whatever ancient catastrophe had destroyed this system. Deep inside its exposed core, something was pulsing with power. "That's their command hub," Grant said. "If we take it out, we might be able to disrupt their coordination. Or we might make them angry," Palmer muttered. "They're already trying to kill us, Ensign," Cole replied. "I don't think it can get much worse." A cutting beam grazed the Relentless's hull, and the ship shuddered. Damage alarms wailed. Torres reported a breach on Deck 4, contained but serious. "We can't keep this up forever," Grant warned. "We have to either run or attack." Cole made his decision. "We attack. All ahead full. Take us toward that moon." The Relentless surged forward, pushing through the harvester formation like a charging bull. Harvesters scattered before her, surprised by the aggressive move. The ship's guns blazed continuously, creating a corridor of destruction through the enemy ranks. Torres's voice came over the comm. "Sensor modification complete. Uploading to tactical now." Suddenly the display changed. Where before there had been empty space, now there were dozens of additional contacts visible. Harvesters that had been invisible, waiting in ambush, now showed clearly on the screens. "I see them all now," Shaw said with grim satisfaction. "No more hiding." "Good work, Torres," Cole said. "Now let's use it." The battle became a deadly chase to the debris field. The Relentless wove between asteroids and planetary fragments, using the cover to limit how many harvesters could attack at once. Palmer's navigation was inspired, finding paths through spaces that seemed too narrow for such a large ship. A harvester got too close, and its cutting beam sliced through a section of the outer hull. 2 crew members died instantly. 3 more were wounded. Cole felt each loss like a physical blow, but he could not stop. Stopping meant death for everyone. "Almost there," Palmer announced. 2 minutes to the command hub. The harvesters seemed to sense the danger. They stopped trying to capture the Relentless and began attacking with everything they had. Cutting beams and projectiles filled the space around the ship. Shields flickered and failed in sections. Fires broke out on 3 decks, but the crew of the Relentless did not break. Torres kept the engines running through sheer force of will. Shaw tracked every enemy contact and fed targeting data to the gunners. Grant coordinated damage control teams, sealing breaches and fighting fires. Palmer flew like a man possessed, finding survival in spaces that should have meant death, and Cole stood at the center of it all, steady and calm, his voice never wavering as he gave orders. "Target in range," Shaw reported. Through the viewport, Cole could see the command hub. It was a structure of black metal and strange organic growths, built into the heart of the broken moon. Lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. It was old. So very old. And it had been killing for longer than humanity had existed. All weapons fire, Cole commanded. The Relentless unleashed everything she had. Railgun rounds, missiles, energy weapons, all concentrated on a single point. The command hub's shields flared and buckled. The structure itself began to crack. Keep firing. The hub exploded. A wave of energy rippled outward, washing over the Harvester fleet. And suddenly, the machines stopped. They went still in space, their coordination signals gone, their ancient programming interrupted. They're confused, Grant observed. They don't know what to do without central command. But Cole was not celebrating. He was looking at his sensors, where new contacts were appearing at the edge of the system. Many new contacts. Sir, Shaw said quietly, I'm reading over 200 Harvester signatures, jumping into the system. Reinforcements. They must have called for help before we destroyed the hub. The bridge fell silent. They had won a battle, but the war had just begun. 217 contacts. Cole stared at the number on the tactical display. The reinforcement fleet was still forming up at the edge of the system, but they would not wait long. The Relentless was damaged, low on ammunition, and alone. Captain, Shaw said, I'm also detecting something else. Inside the command hub wreckage. Life signs. Life signs? How is that possible? Shaw shook his head in confusion. The hub must have had holding cells. Containment units. There are beings still alive in there. At least 20 of them from multiple different species. Grant understood immediately. The specimens. The Marathi captain said the Harvesters collected organic components. They've been keeping victims alive. Stored. Cole felt sick. 10,000 years. The Harvesters had been operating for 10,000 years. How many beings had they taken? How many had they kept, frozen in time, waiting to be processed? Can we reach them before the reinforcements arrive? Cole asked. Torres's voice came from engineering. Exhausted, but still sharp. The hub is breaking apart. I give it 30 minutes before the structural integrity fails completely. If those containment units lose power, everyone inside dies. And the reinforcements? Shaw checked his calculations. At their current speed, they'll be in weapons range in 40 minutes. 10 minutes. They had 10 minutes of margin. We're going in, Cole decided. Grant looked at him with surprise. Sir, if we stay to rescue those prisoners, we might not make it out. We've already lost people. We're barely holding together. I know. Cole met her eyes. But I'm not leaving anyone behind. Not if there's a chance to save them. He turned to face the entire bridge crew. They were tired. They were scared. Some of them were wounded. But they were looking at him with trust in their eyes. I won't order anyone to stay, Cole said. This is a choice. We can run now and probably survive. Or we can try to save those people and risk everything. I know what I'm going to do. Anyone who wants to leave, I won't blame you. No one moved. Palmer spoke first, his young voice steady despite everything. I'm staying, sir. I didn't join the fleet to run away. Same here, Shaw added. One by one, every person on the bridge made the same choice. Down in engineering, Torres reported that her entire team was ready to keep the ship running as long as needed. In the medical bay, the doctors prepared for more casualties. In the cargo hold, the rescued Marathi watched with wide eyes as humans chose to risk their lives for strangers. Commander, Cole said to Grant, take a team to the hub. Get those people out. Grant nodded and moved. Within minutes, she and a team of 10 were aboard a shuttle, flying toward the crumbling remains of the Harvester Command. Structured dot, the hub was a nightmare of twisted metal and failing systems. Grant led her team through corridors that pulsed with dying lights. Strange fluids dripped from ruptured pipes. The air smelled of ozone and something older, something that had been sealed away for millennia. They found the containment chamber deep in the structure's core. It was a vast room filled with transparent cylinders, each one holding a living being in suspended animation. Grant saw species she recognized and species she had never encountered. Some of them had been here for centuries. Some had been taken only weeks ago. "Start the extraction," she ordered. "Get them all." Her team worked fast, disconnecting cylinders and loading them onto portable grav sleds. The structure groaned around them. Pieces of ceiling fell. Time was running out. "Commander," one of her team called out, "I found something." Grant went to look. In a separate section, there were smaller cylinders. Children. Being so young, they had not yet reached maturity by their species standards. They floated in the preservation fluid, their eyes closed, their faces peaceful. Grant felt rage burn in her chest. The harvesters had taken children. They had kept them like specimens in a collection. "Get them all," she said, her voice hard as steel. "Every single one." Back on the Relentless, Cole watched the reinforcement fleet begin to advance. They were moving faster now, as if sensing that their prey might escape. "Shuttle is returning," Shaw reported. Commander Grant reports 19 survivors recovered. 8 different species, including 3 juveniles. "Get them aboard fast. As soon as they're in, we run." The shuttle docked hard, barely slowing down before hitting the bay. Grant's team rushed the survivors to medical. The containment cylinders were still active, keeping the beings inside stable until they could be properly revived. "All aboard," Grant reported, breathing hard. "Palmer, get us out of here," Cole ordered. The Relentless turned toward the edge of the system and accelerated. Behind them, the Harvester reinforcement fleet gave chase. The ancient machines were faster than expected, closing the distance with mechanical determination. "They're gaining on us," Shaw warned. Torres pushed the engines harder than they were designed to go. The ship shook with the strain. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Come on," Cole whispered. "Come on." But the numbers did not lie. The harvesters would catch them before they could reach safe space. There were too many enemies, and the Relentless was too damaged. Cole looked at the tactical display for a long moment. Then he made a decision. "Shaw, open a channel. All frequencies. Maximum broadcast power. Sir, I'm going to send a message." The message went out on every frequency the Relentless could broadcast. It carried everything. Sensor data on the harvesters, their weaknesses, the modification that made them visible, tactical information from the battle. It was everything they had learned, packaged into a single transmission that screamed across the void. "This is Captain Daniel Cole of the USS Relentless," Cole said into the recorder. "We have engaged hostile machines in the Keth 7 system. Ancient harvesters. They have been taking ships for over 10,000 years. We have found a way to detect them, and we have hurt them. I am transmitting all tactical data now. If we do not survive, use this information. Find them. Stop them. Do not let anyone else disappear into the dark." The message ended. The transmission continued, repeating automatically. "Sir," Shaw said quietly, "that message will reach the fleet positions at the corridor's edge. They'll know what we found." "Good," Cole replied. Then it wasn't for nothing. The harvesters were still gaining. 200 machines, closing like a tide of metal and death. The Relentless had nothing left to throw at them. Her ammunition was nearly gone. Her shields were failing. Her hull was scarred and breached in a dozen places. Cole prepared himself for the end. He had made peace with it. His crew had saved 19 beings from a fate worse than death. They had sent a warning that might save thousands more. It was enough. It had to be enough. Then Shaw's console lit up with new contacts. "Captain!" New signatures jumping into the system. They're coming from the corridor entrance. Cole spun to look at the display. 7 ships were emerging from jump space. Not harvesters. Not human either. Identify them. Shaw's voice cracked with disbelief. Torvan Warship. Mirathi Cruiser. 2 Calyx destroyers. A Voss battlecruiser. 2 more I don't recognize. Sir, they're all accelerating toward us. A new voice crackled over the communications channel. It was deep and rough, speaking the common trade language with a heavy accent. Human vessel Relentless. This is Commander Thruz of the Calyx destroyer Stormwing. We received your message. We are here to help. Cole could not believe what he was hearing. Commander, your people said the corridor was cursed. You said no one would enter. We were afraid, Thruz admitted. We waited at the edge while you went into the dark alone. We watched your signal move deeper and deeper, and we said prayers for your souls. Then we heard your message. We heard what you found, and we heard that you stayed to save people instead of running away. There was a pause. When Thruz spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. You shamed us, human. You shamed us with your courage. We could not sit and watch any longer. The 7 allied ships formed up around the Relentless, putting themselves between the human vessel and the approaching harvester fleet. It was still not an even fight. 200 harvesters against 8 ships. But it was no longer hopeless. All ships, Cole broadcast. I'm sending you the sensor modification data. Upload it to your systems. You'll be able to see them clearly. One by one, the allied ships confirmed receipt. Their tactical displays lit up with the true positions of the harvester fleet. For the first time, the ancient machines had nowhere to hide. The battle that followed was brutal and desperate. The harvesters were many, but the allied fleet had something they lacked. They had coordination. They had trust. They had the willingness to sacrifice for each other. The Torvan Warship, crewed by a species that had never fought a war, rammed a harvester formation to protect a damaged Mirathi cruiser. The Calyx destroyers wove through the enemy fleet, drawing fire away from the Relentless. The Voss battlecruiser stood like a fortress, her massive guns tearing harvesters apart by the dozen. And in the center of it all, Torres made a decision. Captain, she called from engineering, I can end this. If I overload the reactor, I can create an electromagnetic pulse strong enough to fry every harvester in the system. But it will cripple us. We won't have power for engines or weapons. Will the other ships survive? If they get far enough away, yes. Cole looked at the tactical display. The Allied fleet was holding, but barely. They could not keep this up forever. Sooner or later, the harvesters would overwhelm them. Do it, he ordered. All Allied ships, pull back immediately. Clear the blast zone. The Allied vessels broke away, accelerating to minimum safe distance. The harvesters pursued, sensing victory. They closed in on the Relentless from every direction, cutting beams charging for the final kill. Torres activated the overload. For a single moment, the USS Relentless became a small sun. Energy pulsed outward in a wave that washed over the entire battlefield. Every harvester it touched went dead, their ancient systems fried by the overwhelming electromagnetic surge. They drifted, powerless. Their 10,000 years of hunting finally ended. The Relentless went dark. Every system failed. Every light went out. The ship floated in silence, surrounded by the dead hulks of her enemies. Then, the Allied ships came back, grappling lines attached to the Relentless's hull. The Calyx destroyers took her under tow, pulling her towards safe space. On the bridge, Cole and his crew sat in the emergency lighting, exhausted beyond words, but alive. Captain, Grant said softly, we did it. Cole nodded. He did not trust himself to speak. 3 weeks later, the rescued specimens were revived. 19 beings opened their eyes for the first time in years, decades, or centuries. They learned that they were free. They learned that their long nightmare was over. Some of them were reunited with descendants who had thought them lost forever. The Galactic Commerce Council held a ceremony to honor the crew of the Relentless. Representatives from 30 species attended. Captain Cole stood on a stage and received medals he did not feel he deserved. He thought about the crew members who had died. He thought about how close they had come to losing everything. After the ceremony, the Merethi diplomat Varath approached him. "Captain," she said, "you could have left us. You could have saved yourself. Why didn't you?" Cole thought about the question for a long moment. Then he shrugged. "It's what humans do," he said simply. "We don't leave people behind." 1 month later, 12 more human warships were dispatched to patrol the dead zones of the galaxy. They went to the places other species feared to go. They searched the darkness for threats that had hidden for millennia. And across the galaxy, alien sensor operators watched their screens with new eyes. When human warship signatures appeared in the most dangerous regions of space, they no longer felt fear. They felt hope.